and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, Senate summons CBN governor to explain Naira depreciation and its implication for the Nigerian economy. New NNPC Group Managing Director fires all group executive directors, cuts down number from 9 to 4. 4 Boko Haram militants apprehended in Milari village, Konduga, Borno State. Military presents suspects to the governor. A part of the plane found on the Réunion Island is said to be from the missing MH370.
On Business News tonight, Nigeria's Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, gives tips on creating a conducive business environment for investors in Nigeria.
And on sports news tonight, Nigeria's Golden Eaglets wait anxiously to know their group phase opponents as the 2015 FIFA Under-17 World Cup draws hold tomorrow in Chile.
To begin with the lawmakers today, the Senate has swung into action to unravel the continued depression of the Naira before the dollar. And to check its trend, the Senate has invited the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria to explain the depreciation of the Naira and its implications for the economy. Federal lawmakers expressed concern that the Naira has depreciated in the last few months at a much faster rate than it had appreciated over the last 2 years. Our correspondent Linda Kigbe reports.
The Naira in recent times could be likened to a pendulum, not static, swinging from one end to another. Take, for instance, there was a collective sigh of relief just 2 days ago when the Naira showed signs of strength. But come Tuesday, the Naira, without warning, weakened to 220 to $1. Federal lawmakers are worried.
Aware that the cause of this depreciation is a consequence of the negative cash flow as a result of the downward trend of oil price, which is further worsening by the speculations in the foreign exchange market.
Our dependence on just one source of revenue, which today the price has gone halfway, has fallen down to half its value. And this is why you see we cannot match our demand for forex. We cannot match our demands anymore with what we earn.
When you have a manufacturing sector that's dead, you find that everything has to be imported. And you can only import by using your foreign exchange. So I think the first thing to do is to tackle, to know why our manufacturing sector is dead.
The federal lawmaker who moved the motion also raised an alarm that the illicit fund flows and money laundering going through the Nigerian financial system is contributing to weakening the value of the Naira. The Senate President said there is a need to check the illicit cash flow in the country.
And then the area we talked about also on the issue of corruption and money laundering is key, because some of these policies now of which the banks have come up with is affecting a lot of small savers, while the big people that have the millions and millions of dollars who are creating the problem are being left alone. So I think this is an area. So I want to commend all of us that have contributed. We must play our own role to ensure that we give support to the Naira and give support to the central bank in this very, very difficult journey that they embarked on, but which is the right one.
After the debate, the Senate agreed to invite the CBN governor to brief the Senate on the depreciation of a Naira and its implications for the Nigerian economy. The Senate also asked the federal government to step up efforts at diversifying the national economy from an oil-reliant economy to one that depends on taxation, agriculture, manufacturing, international tourism, among others. Linda Kibi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the pollution of some local government areas in Imo State by an explosion at the operational base of Nigeria Ajib Oil Company. This was consequent upon a motion raised by a lawmaker Goodluck Opia that oil companies in the Niger Delta region use outdated equipment which are unsafe and pollute the environment with little done to remediate and compensate the affected communities. The 7-man committee has 4 weeks to investigate the remote and immediate causes of the incident, damages caused to the host community, and determine the stage and age of operational equipment used by Ajib Oil Company and other oil-producing companies in the Niger Delta region.
Nigerian Ajib Oil Company, an oil exploration company, has been operating now by Mandoni local government area of Rivers State and Ohajebema Uguta local government area of Imo State for over 50 years. Concerned that all oil companies operating in the Niger Delta area use substandard and outdated equipment that are unsafe and pollute the environment, and they also have little regard for the safety of lives and properties of the people of the host communities. Notes a fire explosion between the 29th and 30th of June 2015 at the operational base of Nigerian Ajib Oil Company at Ibocha, Ebema, which caused major pollution and damage to lives and properties, food crops and aquatic lives worth millions of naira.
The new Group General Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Dr. Emmanuel Kachukwu, has commenced a shake-up of the organization. This comes less than 24 hours after he took office. Dr. Kachukwu has announced a restructuring of the NNPC by cutting down the size of the directorates from 8 to 4 and has appointed new group executive directors. The new office and their heads include Directorate of Refining and Engineering to be headed by Dr. M.K. Baru, Mr. Dennis Nnamdi to take charge of the Directorate of Exploration and Production. Mr. Bankole Komolafe has been appointed Group Executive Director for the Directorate of Commercial and Investment, while Mr. Isiaka Abdul Razak will now head the Finance Directorate. The restructuring and the appointments come weeks after a strong stance from the President to fix the oil sector, rid it of rot and probe monies stolen, which are said to have been flown abroad. Let's look at the reorganization of the NNPC now. I'm being joined on the news at 10 by Mr. Iswa Dogo, a public analyst. So thank you for joining us on the news at 10.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure you've been keeping a keen eye on what's been going on in the NNPC, the changes and the shakeups that have been going on. What do you make of the sacking of 9 group executive directors and cutting them down to size?
Well, I thought we were supposed to start by looking at the new appointment and why the NNPC in the first place has been given a very bad name, and the reasons why you need a professional to take over. The sacking of the directors is purely professional and internal matter, and I will, sorry to say, to start on what I believe is the basic thing. The basic thing, that is the political interference that the NNPC has experienced over the years that has made it not to function the way that it should function. If the NNPC is left to operate as a commercial enterprise, is going to achieve whatever is required. The person who is there now is a sound professional. He's well knowledgeable. He's well experienced. He's somebody that is an international figure. And so nobody will have doubts about his competence and his ability to fix the NNPC the way it should be, provided, I repeat, provided it is insulated from political interference.
When you say, sorry to cut you there, but when you say political interference, are you referring to the past administration or the present one?
I am referring to all the administrations since the establishment of the NNPC. There has been too much political interference. I mean, from day one when the NNPC was established, there has been too much political interference. And I will want to say that, look, from now, the new Minister of Petroleum Resources should not spend one single minute in the NNPC towers. It should have a different building, different setup, completely. There should be no interference whatsoever in NNPC.
So would you say that the corruption as well as the corruption scandals and the poor performance of the NNPC could be attributed to the interference that you're talking about?
Absolutely. In fact,
it is now led to the reorganization?
It is not attributed. It is the cause of the corruption. The corruption is caused by politicians, is caused by the interference of the political class in the NNPC, not the staff of NNPC. The staff of NNPC themselves are professionals. You have engineers, you have lawyers, you have public relations, you have every kind of professional to make NNPC successful is there as I'm talking to you now.
And how can NNPC be successful? Apart from putting professionals there, what other things need to be done to help the NNPC become successful? Because you're speaking passionately about, you know, the NNPC being influenced by politics and by the administration, but what else can the NNPC do? Because all of these corruption scandals were done within the NNPC by their own staff.
No, that is absolutely wrong. The corruption in the NNPC is not done by the staff of the NNPC. It's done by political class. And the political class uses the NNPC as if it is simply an extension of an arm of one political department or the other, not the staff of the NNPC. Yes, they could use the staff of the NNPC. They simply tell them what to do. It is not the staff of the NNPC that initiate what happens in the NNPC.
Are you confident?
I'm confident, and I'm absolutely I'm too sure of that.
Are you, no. What I was going to ask is, are you confident that the president would allow the NNPC to perform its duties and that corruption in the NNPC be reduced to the minimum with the new helmsman in the NNPC?
I'm not only confident, but I'm certainly sure. And I will beg the president not to allow the new Minister of Petroleum Resources to step into NNPC towers. That is what I'm saying.
Okay, so
secondly, I will also ask that the National Assembly should allow the NNPC to work. So the NNPC, the shortcomings are not from NNPC staff, but from the political class, both the executive and the National Assembly.
And that's your solution to the problem with the NNPC?
That is part of the solution.
What other solutions are there?
What the new group managing director has started doing, restructuring it and making every department functional. Do you see it?
Yes, but what other solutions are there? Because we've already mentioned one. What other solutions are there?
The other solutions, that is what I'm saying, unless you want me to go into details of what the GMD is supposed to do, because the NNPC is a very big organization and has several subsidiaries, and all those restructuring will go around the whole subsidiaries to ensure that the right people are there. Round pegs in round holes, square pegs in square holes. Unless you want me to go to the details of those ones, if you allow me to take the whole time, I'm afraid
we don't have all evening. We would love to,
but the first thing first is that not only the NNPC, but all the parastatals should be insulated from political interference and should be allowed to run on professional and commercial basis. Whether you are talking about the Ports Authority, NIMASA, Shippers Council, and TEDFON, and all the others, they should be allowed to run in the way they should run professionally, not to be used for whatever political financing. It was alleged that a particular administration would simply go and say, look, we need XYZ amount, right from the military regime to this period and time. It shouldn't be like that.
And I'm afraid that's where we're going to have to leave it tonight. Thank you so much for joining us on the News at 10.
I believe that there is need for us to enlighten the people, enlighten the government, and to actually plead that public opinion should prevail against what the National Assembly and the executive arm of government does, and we should plead that, look, the president should help and ensure that they give the new group managing director the free hand to run. He has no business running to the villa or to the National Assembly on a regular basis.
Mr. Dogo, you have made your point. Thank you so much for joining us on the News at 10. Very interesting discussion with Mr. Iswa Dogo, a public affairs analyst. But in part 2, after the break, find out details about how to stem clashes between herdsmen and farmers. We'll be joining our Abuja studio with Professor Yusuf Abubakar. Please stay with us.